Have you ever looked at someone's life and wondered, how did they rise so high, while others stayed stuck exactly where they were? Why do some people succeed even when they start with nothing, and others keep struggling, even though they work just as hard? The truth is simple, but most people never realize it. Your life follows your thoughts. Your beliefs shape your reality. Think about Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos. They didn't start wealthy. They didn't start powerful. They started with a belief, a thought that whispered, I can become more. So if thinking is this powerful, why do so many people still fail? Why do so many lose hope when life gets hard? Today, I'm going to tell you a story that answers this question in the most unexpected way. A story about a man who had nothing, and yet changed his entire life by changing just one thing: his mindset. In a crowded railway station of a small town, there lived a beggar. He had no home, no family, no purpose. Every day he survived by stretching out his hand to strangers passing by in a hurry. Some ignored him. Some tossed a coin. Some didn't even bother to look at his face. Every night, he curled up under an old wooden bench, holding the few coins he earned. And every morning, he woke up thinking one thing: this is my fate. He didn't dream. He didn't hope. He simply existed. But one morning, everything changed. A train arrived with a long whistle. People rushed out, and from the first-class coach stepped a man in a clean suit, shiny shoes, and a confident walk. A man who looked like success itself. The beggar's eyes lit up. He hurried to him and said, Sir, please spare some coins. The businessman stopped. He didn't ignore him. He didn't walk away. He looked straight at the beggar and asked softly, Do you always ask others for things? The beggar nodded silently. Then the businessman asked something even stranger. Have you ever given anything to anyone? The beggar was confused. What do I even have to give, sir? I own nothing. The businessman smiled. If you believe you have nothing to give, he said, then you also have no right to ask for anything. Life is an exchange. If you offer nothing, life will give you nothing. Before the beggar could reply, the man stepped onto his train and disappeared, but his words stayed. That night, the beggar didn't sleep. He kept hearing the same sentence again and again. If you want to receive, you must first give. For 2 days he didn't beg. He just sat, watching people rush past him. Thinking, what do I have to offer? On the 3rd day, while sitting near the tracks, something caught his eye. A tiny bunch of wildflowers growing between the stones. Simple, beautiful, alive, he thought. Maybe. This is something I can give. He gently picked a few flowers, carried them back to his usual spot, and waited. A kind woman dropped a coin into his bowl. Instead of just nodding, he handed her a flower and smiled. The woman stopped, surprised. Then she smiled too. Thank you, she said. You made my day. Those 4 words hit him harder than any coin ever had. For the first time in years, someone thanked him. Day after day, he kept offering flowers, and something magical happened. People stopped. They talked to him. They smiled. They gave more not out of pity, but because they received something back. Even if it was just a flower or a smile. He noticed a pattern. Whenever he had flowers, people were generous. When he didn't, people hurried away. It's true, he thought. Everyone wants an exchange. Weeks later, one morning, He suddenly saw the same businessman inside a train window. Heart racing, he rushed forward. "Sir, today I have something to give. If you give me money, I will give you flowers in return." The businessman smiled, reached into his pocket, and handed him a few notes. "You have learned the greatest lesson of life," he said. "Today, you are no longer a beggar. You are a businessman." The train left, but those words didn't. "A businessman," he repeated softly. And for the first time ever, he believed it. The next day, he borrowed a small basket, filled it with flowers, and started selling them at the station. People loved him. His honesty, his smile, his effort. Slowly, his earnings grew. He saved money, bought his own flower cart, started visiting nearby towns, built relationships with customers, and rebuilt his life piece by piece. Months later, at the same station, two men shook hands. One was the businessman. The other was the former beggar, now neatly dressed, confident, and successful. The businessman stared and said, "Wait, aren't you the beggar I met long ago?" The man smiled proudly. "Yes, that was me. But I'm not a beggar anymore. I run a small flower business now. Your words changed my life." The businessman shook his head gently. "No," he said, "your thoughts changed your life. They stood there not as a rich man and a poor man, but as equals." And as the train disappeared, the flower seller whispered to himself, "I was never truly poor. I was poor only in my thinking." And that, my friend, is the truth about life. You don't need money to start. You don't need a perfect life to take action. You don't need luck to rise. All you need is a thought, a belief that you have something to offer. Because the moment you believe you have value, life begins to return that value to you. When your thoughts change, your future changes. If this story touched your heart, imagine what your life could look like if you changed just one thought today. Your dreams aren't far away. They're waiting for you to believe. This is Wrillex Tales, where every story brings you closer to the best version of yourself. Stay strong, stay focused, and remember, you are more capable than you think.